It's Democracy Day in Nigeria today, the first time the country will be commemorating the event on June 12th as ratified by the National Assembly following the recommendations by President Muhammadu Buhari. For 18 years from year 2000, Nigeria marked Democracy Day on May the 29th, the date on which the military returned power to civilians in 1999 after almost 16 years in power. Pro-democracy activists have since been agitating for the formal recognition of June 12 as Democracy Day and Chief Moshood Abiola as the winner of the 1993 presidential election. The process to make June 12 Democracy Day started in June 2018 after the federal government posthumously honored the late Chief MKO Abiola, presumed winner of the annulled presidential election on June 12, 1993, with the title GCFR. Today, the country is not only remembering him, but also the roles played by others who fought for the country's return to democracy. As part of activities to mark the day, the president played host to several top dignitaries, including heads of state, at the parade at the Eagle Square in the nation's capital, Abuja. Some of the high points of the event was the president's declaration that his administration can lift 100 million Nigerians out of the poverty line in the next 10 years, as well as the renaming of the National Stadium, Abuja, after Moshood Abiola. Our correspondent, Amaka Okafor, has that report.
25 years after what was adjudged Nigeria's freest and fairest election, June 12th has become Nigeria's official Democracy Day.
Today, we are privileged to mark
In a commemorative speech, President Muhammadu Buhari paid homage to the legacy of Chief Moshood Abiola.
As we all know, correcting injustice is a prerequisite for peace and unity. As part of the process of healing and reconciliation, I approve the recognition of June 12 as Democracy Day and invested the late Chief Abiola and Babagana Kingibe with national honors, as I did with late Chief Gani Ferhemi. The purpose was to partially atone for the previous damage done in annulling the presidential elections of that year. Today, I propose the renaming of the Abuja National Stadium henceforth. It will be called Moshood Abiola National Stadium.
The president assured that the next 4 years will focus on improving the lives of people as his government plans to lift at least 100 million Nigerians out of poverty.
With leadership and sense of purpose, we can lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. This administration is laying the foundation and taking bold steps in transforming our country and liberating our people from the shackles of poverty.
The president, however, says that this will require the input of the state government.
Nationwide development cannot occur from Abuja alone. It must occur at states, and government cannot do it alone. I therefore implore all state governments, especially those with large rural communities, to aggressively solicit investments in your states. Invest in developing human capital, reducing bureaucracy and corruption.
The president is confident that his administration will surely take Nigerians to the next level of better days. Amaka Okafor, Channels Television News.
And one of the major highlights of Democracy Day celebrations today was the parade. Government officials, members of the diplomatic corps, foreign heads of states, amongst others, were entertained with colorful displays and presentations from the Guards Brigade troops, the military band, the police, and the national troop. Our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, has more.
The parade, a formation of soldiers whose movement is restricted by close-order maneuvering known as drilling. The term parade comes from the tradition of close-order formation combat, where soldiers were held in very strict formations to maximize their effectiveness during combat.
Have your permission to carry on with the rest of the parade, Your Excellency.
To celebrate Nigeria's Democracy Day, the parade began with President Buhari inspecting the guards. The parade then broke into a march, first slow and then quick time.
In 2015, the horse weighs 340 kilograms. It was used during the 2019.
The military band created some nostalgia for the crowd with their rendition of the classic Eddie Kwanzaa.
Different formations being formed then by the Gas Brigade band and the silent drill team.
Next was a silent drill and a performance by Nigeria's cultural troupe.
But the ladies insist he must finish what he has started. There is no escape route. You must conclude this contest. And there it is. He obviously is not ready yet to go home with a bride.
The troops advanced in review order, and after the Democracy Day address from President Buhari, gave 3 hearty cheers. After asking for permission from the president, the troops departed.
May I have your permission to march off the colors and the rest of the parade, Your Excellency?
Parades have become an expected spectacle at almost all national events, and the Democracy Day celebrations were no exception. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
Colorful indeed. Meanwhile, Nigerians have been reacting to the President's Democracy Day speech. The Executive Director of African Center for Leadership and Development, Dr. Otivie Ebuzo, applauds President Buhari's ambition to lift 100 million Nigerians out of the poverty line within the next 10 years. However, he says the President's speech did not state how he intends to do so amidst the nation's security challenges.
It's the first Democracy Day celebration on the new date of June the 12th, with government officials, politicians and heads of government from across the globe witnessing the occasion. President Muhammadu Buhari mounts the podium to deliver his inaugural speech for a second time as president.
The principal thrust of this new administration is to consolidate on the achievements of the last 4 years, correct the lapses inevitable in all human endeavors, and tackle the new challenges the country is faced with, and chart a bold plan for transforming Nigeria.
A civil society activist, while applauding the president's ambition to reduce poverty, laments the lack of strategies towards achieving it.
One other area that resonated with me very well in this speech is the ambition to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. You know, that resonates with me. And the speech is also a little bit short on strategy.
Some lawmakers, however, give kudos to the president, especially for the political will to move Democracy Day from May the 29th to June 12th.
The speech of Mr. President today was very deep in thought, and as well very futuristic and very ambitious in nature.
Immortalizing the icon of the June 12 struggle is something that is also very crucial, that MKO Abiola all these years has not been, immortalized.
On the part of the Director General of We Believe, a civil society group, she believes the president's speech has raised the hopes of Nigerians for a better tomorrow.
I think Mr. President has got various plans to alleviate poverty and make a living for the average person convenient.
Although it's the first time Democracy Day is being observed outside the traditional date of May the 29th, the essence of the event still remains the same for the nation and its citizens.
The presidential candidate of the main opposition People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, believes it's not enough to declare June 12 as Democracy Day. He insists that it's also a time to pay attention to alleged disrespect of the rule of law and court orders bordering on fundamental human rights in the country. In a statement, Mr. Abubakar explains that he was a compatriot that stood shoulder to shoulder with Chief MKO Abiola during the struggle for democracy, and that he knows firsthand that the choice of hope, which was Abiola's campaign slogan, wasn't merely lip service. According to him, the minimum requirement for any June 12 convert is to demand that leader delivers on promises they make to the people. He says, and I quote, "The idea of June 12 is not merely to declare it as Democracy Day, much as celebratory and commendable it might seem. The idea behind the event of June 12, 1993 embodies something much bigger than that. It was a threshold moment in our national life that demands of us as Democrats to do a soul-searching and ask the salient questions of all time. How better off are Nigerians?" End of quote. He adds that to be a lover of June 12 is to believe in the common good of the people and for the political leadership to have the focus of retooling the Nigerian economy. And in Lagos, politicians, civil rights activists, family members of Chief MKO Abiola gathered at the residence of the late politician to pay tribute to him and others considered to have made sacrifices for Nigeria's democracy. Our correspondent, Dario Ido, was there and has this report.
Human traffic and the songs of solidarity are familiar scenes here.
In the struggle for Nigeria, there is victory for.
And victory seems to have been achieved.
But for me, after the new minimum wage law, the best law that has ever come from that 8th Assembly is the act declaring June 12 as Democracy Day. What we are doing today is a triumph of democracy over military dictatorship. Never again should anybody rule us without having our mandate. What President Buhari has done is to damn those who annulled the June 12 elections.
It is possible that we can work together as a people from every divide in our society, bearing in mind that politics is ultimately about service and the advance of the common good of all.
This year, the tone is slightly more about the tribute than the struggle, and they proceed to lay the wreath at the tomb of the late MKO Abiola.
This is the residence of the late MKO Abiola, and for some people, this place is a symbol of a struggle that started many years ago. And with the recognition of June 12 as the Democracy Day, those who have always gathered here say their efforts are paying off.
Security and economy. That's what the June 12 was about. My father wanted to bring economic growth and also secure the nation.
As Nigerians celebrate the new Democracy Day, done in commemoration of the election of MKO Abiola on June 12, 1993, there are still demands that government must make efforts at deepening democratic values in the country. Dario Ido, Channels Television News.